If two people are truly meant to meet in a life-changing way, the first sign is almost never comfort. It is not easy timing. It is not instant peace. It is not a perfect love story that begins with smiles and soft music. It is something far more powerful. It is a quiet shock, a deep recognition, a feeling that reaches you before your mind can explain it. And that is where most people get confused. They think the right connection should calm everything at once, but the real ones often stir everything first. They wake up feelings you buried. They shine light on parts of you that you kept hidden. They make your heart race, but they also make your soul pay attention. Stay with me, because this changes how you see love forever. The connection that is meant to transform you does not always arrive wrapped in certainty. Sometimes it comes as confusion. Sometimes it comes as distance. Sometimes it comes as a person who enters your world, touches something deep inside you, and then seems to pull your whole inner life into motion. That is not a mistake. That is not random. That is the beginning. And if you have ever felt a bond that stayed in your spirit long after the moment passed, then you already know what I mean. What is meant to change you rarely enters gently. First, it makes you feel. Then it makes you see. Then it makes you grow. Most people have been taught a softer picture of love. They imagine the right person will appear and everything will suddenly make sense. No fear, no tension, no waiting, no inner conflict, just relief, just happiness, just a perfect fit from the first moment. But life does not always move like that. The deeper connections usually do not arrive to protect your comfort. They arrive to challenge it. They enter quietly, then begin to shake loose everything in you that has been built on fear, fantasy, or old pain. You meet someone, and something inside you reacts before your thoughts can catch up. You may not even fully trust the feeling at first. In fact, you may resist it, you may question it, you may even try to walk away from it. But still, something remains. A strange pull, a sense that this meeting is not small, not ordinary, not forgettable. And the reason it feels so intense is simple. They are not just seeing your surface, they are touching deeper layers. They reflect the parts of you that still need healing. They bring your patterns into the light. They expose what you avoid. And that is why this kind of connection often feels unsettling before it feels clear. Listen carefully, because this part matters. The discomfort is not always proof that something is wrong. Sometimes it is proof that something real has begun moving inside you, and real change rarely starts in comfort. The first thing that often happens in a connection like this is recognition, not peace. Recognition. You feel seen in a way that is hard to explain. It is as if the other person notices something in you that even you have not fully faced. That can feel beautiful, but it can also feel threatening. Because being deeply seen is not always easy. It asks you to step out from behind the image you show the world. It asks you to face your fears, your wounds, your loneliness, your hunger to be chosen, your habit of pretending that you are fine when you are not. This is why such connections do not always begin with simple closeness. They often begin with tension, intensity, and inner movement. You may feel drawn to them, yet also afraid. You may want to move closer, yet feel the urge to protect yourself. And that inner conflict is important. It reveals that the connection is touching something old and unfinished inside you, something that still needs attention, something that has shaped your relationships for years. Maybe it is your fear of abandonment. Maybe it is your need for control. Maybe it is the way you give too much so you will not be left. Maybe it is the way you shut down before anyone gets too close. Whatever it is, the connection begins to uncover it. That is why the start can feel so powerful. It is not just attraction, it is awakening. And once that awakening begins, it becomes very hard to return to the version of yourself that existed before you felt it. This is also why people who are meant to change each other do not always stay together at the beginning. In many cases, life creates space between them almost immediately. Timing fails, fear rises, old pain gets in the way. One person may still be carrying heartbreak from the past. One may still be learning what they deserve. One may want love, but still fear vulnerability. One may feel deeply, but not know how to hold what they feel. Sometimes both people are still unfinished, and unfinished people, even with honest hearts, can still hurt each other badly. So distance appears, not because the connection means nothing, but because it means too much to be rushed. There are moments in life when separation is not rejection, it is protection, it is life saying, not yet. It is a pause with purpose. A painful one, yes, but still purposeful. If they came together too early, they might break what could have become sacred. They might turn something meaningful into something heavy, chaotic, and damaging. So the distance begins its work. And that work is deeper than most people realize, because when the person is gone, the feeling does not fully leave with them. Instead, it turns inward. It becomes reflection. It becomes questions. It becomes nights of silence where you are no longer only thinking about them, you are thinking about yourself. And that shift changes everything. Because this kind of connection is not just asking, do you want love? It is asking, are you ready to become someone who can hold it? When separation happens in an ordinary connection, the pain is usually clear. You miss the person. You miss the routine. You miss the feeling of having someone there. But when the connection touched something deeper, the pain can feel different. It can feel confusing. It can feel like losing direction. You do not just miss them. You feel as if some hidden part of you has been opened and now refuses to close. Suddenly, the silence around you becomes louder. Old memories rise. Old wounds speak. You begin to notice things you had pushed aside for years. You see how often you looked outside yourself for worth. You see how much you feared being left. You notice where you accepted less than you needed, where you stayed unclear, where you betrayed your own truth just to keep a bond alive. These realizations are not comfortable, but they are necessary. This is where the real transformation starts. Not in being chosen, not in getting the message, not in the reunion fantasy. It starts in the mirror. It starts when the pain stops being only about the other person and starts revealing the places where you abandoned yourself. And if you have lived this, then you know how strange it is. Even without contact, something in you keeps changing. Your standards shift, your boundaries sharpen, your heart becomes more honest. What once seemed acceptable begins to feel empty. What once looked like love begins to feel like survival. And little by little, without even noticing it at first, you begin to outgrow the old version of yourself. That is the hidden power in a connection that carries deep meaning. It does not create endless obsession when it is teaching you properly. It creates reflection. Yes, you may think about the person. Yes, memories may return at quiet hours. But beyond that, something larger starts happening. You begin asking harder questions. Why do I chase what does not fully choose me? Why do I fear closeness when I say I want it? Why do I keep shrinking to fit into love that was never big enough for me? Why do I settle for confusion when what I really need is honesty? These questions matter more than people think. They do not just change your relationships, they change your identity, because every real answer pulls you away from an old pattern. Every honest insight gives you back a piece of yourself. And slowly, your life starts to look different. You stop chasing attention that has no depth. You stop excusing emotional unavailability. You stop treating anxiety like chemistry and inconsistency like passion. You become less impressed by words and more guided by energy, effort, and peace. And the strange thing is, this growth often begins with pain. The connection hurts you open, then life teaches you what to do with the opening. So if someone entered your life and left behind a deeper self-awareness, that was not meaningless. That was not wasted time. That was a turning point. Maybe not in the way your heart first wanted, but in the way your soul needed. There are people who come into your life not simply to stay in one form forever, but to awaken something that had fallen asleep within you. That does not make the connection less real. In fact, it may make it more real. We often think a meaningful bond must become permanent to prove its value. But some of the most powerful connections are measured not by how long they last, but by how deeply they change you. Some people come to break a cycle. Some come to show you your own worth. Some come to reveal where your love has become mixed with fear, sacrifice, or self-abandonment. Some come to return feeling to parts of your heart that had gone numb, and some come to redirect your entire path. After meeting them, you cannot keep living in quite the same unconscious way. You notice more. You feel more. You choose more carefully. Even your silence changes. Even your standards change. And here is the part many people resist. Whether that person returns is not always the main lesson. Sometimes the deeper purpose is the awakening itself. Sometimes the gift is that you were moved, stretched, challenged, and made more conscious. Sometimes the reason they appeared was to begin a process that only your own inner work could complete. Stay with this because it may free you. Not every sacred connection is meant to become possession. Some are meant to become transformation. Some are meant to leave you stronger, clearer, and more rooted in yourself than you have ever been before. Still, many people ask the same question. If the connection was so deep, why can it not be replaced? Why does meeting someone new not erase it? Why does life seem normal on the outside, yet something inside still feels unfinished. The answer is not always romance. It is depth. A meaningful connection does not sit in the same place as ordinary attraction. It reaches the deeper parts of you. It activates lessons that casual bonds never touch. So when you try to replace it too quickly, the surface may change, but the inner process remains unfinished. You can laugh again, you can date again, you can move forward in many ways. But if the lesson has not settled, a quiet emptiness can remain. Not because no one else is good enough, but because this was never just about another person being better than all others. It was about what the connection awakened. It challenged your defenses. It exposed your illusions. It forced you toward honesty. That cannot be replaced by distraction. It can only be integrated by growth. This is why distance can become a classroom. While two people are apart, life often teaches them separately. One may learn boundaries, one may learn accountability, one may learn to stop chasing, the other may learn to stop running, one may discover self-respect, the other may discover emotional courage. Both may be changing in ways they cannot yet fully see. And that hidden growth matters more than immediate reunion because without it, the same patterns would simply repeat with a different face. Before any real reunion can happen, false beliefs usually have to fall apart. This part is painful, but it is necessary. Many people carry ideas about love that feel romantic but actually destroy peace. Ideas like, if it is real, it will never be hard. Or, if someone loves me, they will automatically know how to love me well. Or, love means I must sacrifice myself to keep the connection alive. Or, the right person will complete what is missing in me. These beliefs feel comforting when you are lonely, but they create dependence, fear, and impossible expectations. So life removes them, usually not with speeches, usually through silence, distance, disappointment, and long hours of honest reflection. You start to see where you confused longing with truth. You start to see where you made another person responsible for your wholeness. You begin to understand that love is not supposed to erase you. It is not supposed to make you smaller. It is not supposed to keep you in constant anxiety, and the more these illusions fall, the more clearly you begin to see. You realize that real love does not ask you to betray yourself. It does not demand that you prove your value through suffering. It does not thrive on confusion. It does not require you to beg for consistency. This is a hard lesson, but it is a freeing one, because once illusion breaks, self-respect has room to grow, and when self-respect grows, your entire life begins to reorganize around truth instead of fear. Then something subtle starts to change. One day, without forcing it, you stop needing the outcome the way you once did. You stop checking every sign. You stop measuring your worth by whether they return. You stop imagining that one message, one apology, or one reunion will finally complete you. And what comes in its place is not bitterness. It is peace, quiet peace, strong peace, the kind that does not have to announce itself. This is where your energy shifts. You begin choosing yourself in ways that once felt impossible. You rest more honestly in your own life. You protect your mind. You protect your heart. You stop feeding fantasies that keep you stuck. And this is important because real love can never grow properly inside desperation. It grows best where there is freedom, honesty, and emotional maturity. When both people can stand on their own feet, love becomes a choice, not a survival tool. It becomes clearer, healthier, deeper. If they return to a different version of you, a version that no longer begs, no longer performs, no longer settles for almost. A version with standards, a version with calm. And if they do not return, you still do not lose. Because the peace you found is real. The strength you built is real. The clarity you earned is real. And that means the connection, however it ends, still served a meaningful purpose in your life. If two people are truly meant to find each other again after all the distance and inner work, the energy between them feels different. Not louder, not more dramatic, just more real, more steady, more clear. The body relaxes, the mind softens. There is less need to prove, less need to test, less fear of being misunderstood at every step. You are no longer trying to play a role. They are no longer hiding behind avoidance or confusion. What comes forward instead is honesty, simplicity, awareness, the kind of connection that does not need constant drama to feel alive, the kind that honors silence instead of fearing it, the kind that respects boundaries instead of pushing against them. There is no rush to control the future. There is simply a grounded sense of recognition, but now it comes with maturity. And that maturity changes everything, because two people can feel deeply for each other and still fail when fear is stronger than awareness. But when awareness grows, fear loses its grip. Then the connection has a chance to become something solid, something conscious, something built on truth rather than projection. And yet, even here, there is another hard truth. Sometimes they still do not return to each other in the form the heart once imagined. Sometimes the reunion is not romantic. Sometimes the lesson has already been fulfilled. That does not erase the reality of what was felt. It simply means the meaning of the connection was larger than one single ending. Some connections enter your life to break patterns that were passed down long before you knew they were shaping you. They reveal where you learned to call sacrifice love. They reveal where you learned to accept silence as peace. They reveal where attachment felt safer than truth. Through these bonds, old pain rises to the surface, not to punish you, but to be healed instead of repeated. Other connections come to teach self-love. They show you where you settle, where you shrink, where you give up your needs just to keep someone near. They force you to face the truth that love should never cost you your dignity, your voice, or your sense of self. Some bonds awaken emotional depth. They remind you that you are still capable of tenderness, openness, vulnerability, and care, even if life taught you to close down. Others redirect your future entirely. After meeting them, your choices shift, your standards rise, your path changes. This is why some people feel impossible to forget. Not because forgetting is failure, but because the lesson they carried was woven deeply into your becoming. Their role may not have been to stay forever. Their role may have been to prepare you for a different life, a stronger love, or a truer version of yourself. And when you understand that, the story becomes less about loss and more about meaning, less about what ended and more about what awakened. That is where healing becomes deeper. That is where your heart begins to understand what your pain could not explain at the beginning. Many people wonder why fate can feel so harsh before it ever feels gentle, why it seems to remove things before it gives anything back. But the answer is simple. Comfort can keep you trapped in patterns that quietly destroy you. Familiar pain can feel safer than unknown growth. So life sometimes breaks what you are clinging to, not because it wants to hurt you, but because it refuses to let you disappear inside what is not right for you. In the moment, it feels cruel. You replay every detail. You question your value. You wonder what you could have done differently. You imagine that if you had just said one better sentence or held on one day longer, things would have changed. But time has a way of revealing what emotion cannot see. With distance, you begin to notice that staying where you were might have kept you trapped in an older self. You begin to understand that the ending forced a growth you had been avoiding. And this is the truth that keeps appearing again and again. When two people are deeply meant to share a meaningful path, they are often pushed to grow separately first. Their fantasies must fall, their wounds must surface, their habits must be confronted, their fear must be faced. This period is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the space where each person is slowly becoming capable of something truer than what either of them could have created at the start. In that space of separation, life teaches lessons that cannot be borrowed from books and cannot be rushed by desire. You learn boundaries, not as walls of coldness, but as signs of self-respect. You learn that saying no can be an act of love toward yourself. You learn that your energy is valuable. You learn that being chosen means little if you are abandoning yourself in the process. You learn that real wholeness cannot be built from another person's approval. It has to rise from within. You learn how to love without erasing your identity. You learn how to care deeply without making another human your entire center. You learn how to be present without begging, honest without collapsing, open without losing your grounding. And those lessons change how you meet every future relationship. Whether the original person returns or not, you do not emerge the same. Something in you becomes quieter, stronger, and more true. You begin to trust your own discernment more. You stop romanticizing what drains you. You stop confusing pain with depth. You start recognizing that healthy love may feel less thrilling to your old wounds, but far safer to your healed self. This is one of the biggest additions that many people miss. Growth does not only prepare you for a possible reunion, it also prepares you to recognize any love that is actually good for you. And that is a gift no ending can steal. Once your eyes open, they do not fully close again. If the path leads back to that person, it will not ask you to shrink, chase, or live in constant confusion. What is true does not need endless chaos to prove its intensity. It may still require honesty. It may still ask for courage. It may still ask both people to show up in ways they once avoided. But it will not demand that one person carry the entire weight while the other stays hidden. It will not leave you in permanent uncertainty. It will not keep your nervous system in battle while calling that love. The deeper truth is this: what is meant for you in a healthy form will meet you with clarity, respect, and steadiness. It will invite your growth, not destroy your peace. It will challenge you, yes, but it will not degrade you. It will ask for truth, not performance. It will make space for your voice, not silence it. And if that original person never returns, that does not turn the story into failure. It means the connection did its work. It shaped you. It sharpened your vision. It prepared your heart to recognize love in its true form, not just in its most intense form. That matters, because many people spend years chasing what feels powerful while missing what is actually nourishing. Your transformation protects you from that trap. It teaches you that meaning and permanence are not always the same thing. Some connections are sacred because of what they awaken, not because they stay forever in one familiar shape. So if you are thinking of someone as these words settle in, do not rush to force an ending, a reunion, or an answer before life is ready to reveal it. Let the lesson breathe. Let the meaning unfold. You do not need to chase what is real. You do not need to beg for what is aligned. You do not need to make yourself smaller just to hold on to a connection that asks you to betray your truth. What is truly meant for your life will never demand the death of your self-respect. It will never ask you to live in endless fear. It will never feed on your confusion just to stay alive. Instead, it will lead you deeper into honesty, courage, healing, and inner strength. And even if the road there moves through heartbreak, silence, or long seasons of not knowing, none of it is wasted. No tear is empty. No longing is meaningless. No disappointment is without a lesson. What feels like rejection may be redirection. What feels like loss may be alignment. What feels like an ending may be the doorway into the strongest relationship you have ever built with yourself. And from that place, everything changes. Your choices change. Your standards change. Your love changes. That is the real secret. The deepest connections do not only ask whether two people will be together. They ask whether each person is willing to become who they were always meant to be. And when that becoming begins, nothing stays small for long.